So the next category is Israel, which clearly we have heard that each and every candidate has a strong stance of support for Israel. But here's a really key question about Israel. And we're going to start with you, Antonia. Regarding Israel, do you believe in a one-state or two-state solution, and how would you support Israel while in Congress?
Well, we've already established that they're our ally, but let's be realistic for a minute. This conflict has been going on for years and years, and Palestinians feel, based on their life experience, and they've seen it for generations, that their life is worthless. If you raise people to believe that their life isn't very valuable, they're going to easily sacrifice their life in the form of suicide bombings and whatnot. This is the mentality of these people. You have to give people hope. Jimmy Carter, I just finished a great book by Jimmy Carter, and he, as you know, he's maybe not a successful president, but he was a pretty good peacemaker. And he went over there and he wrote in his book kind of how it is. We need to be, the United States needs to be the catalyst in that situation and find a workaround. You can't keep putting people in a pressure cooker and expect them not to explode.
Time. Thank you.
That's a really, really thorny question, and we've been struggling with that for decades now, and I've got to be honest, I don't know the solution. You've alluded to how complex the question is. I think it was Golda Meir who said it best, that there'll be peace in the Middle East when the Arab world loves their children more than they hate Israel. So we have to stand with Israel. The two-state solution, I don't know that will ever work, but I don't honestly know what the answer is.
So I'm honored to have the support of conservative leaders and organizations like DJC regarding Israel. And I understand the sovereignty of Israel is also something that's important for us as a nation as well. A two-state versus a single-state solution. Okay, right now what we do have is war. We're having issues there. We need younger people, a new generation, to go in there and talk and have discussions. We need to find solutions. I will never sacrifice Israel's sovereignty for the sake of anything else. But I'm not going to sacrifice the sovereignty of other people as well. We're the United States of America. We're the moral authority, or should be seen as again, and the moral righteousness on the global stage. For the battles of tomorrow, we have to have those conversations. And on foreign affairs, I believe I'm the candidate who can have those conversations. So I support Israel, but I will never support Israel at the expense of Palestine or everybody else. Never, never.
So the short answer as to a one-state or two-state solution is that I don't have an answer. If I did, I'd be accepting a Nobel Prize right now, not sitting here talking about it. So, but having spent a lot of time over there, I was in SOCOM for 6 years, and most of the time I spent in Jordan, and I actually toured the Palestinian refugee camps. After 70, 80 years, you're not a refugee anymore. Right? Yeah. At what point are you a resident of your new country? Yeah. And I think 80 years is more than enough time for that. The problem is the surrounding countries are not taking them in, and they're leaving them in these camps. So I think what we need to do is put pressure on the surrounding countries to accept these, quote, refugees and bring them in as citizens. The other thing is, I would like to see a single-state solution, but however, you're going to run into the same problem we have here. You're just immediately opening up to a border into all of Israel, people that have vowed to destroy the country. I don't know how it can be fixed, but I would love to see a solution. But again, I simply don't have one.
So about a decade ago, I spent some time in Israel, and I went to the West Bank and Gaza Strip and saw the walls and the barbed wire and the massive security that you got to go through to get to the other side. I personally do not think it's a viable solution to go to a one-state solution. I just don't think it's viable. I think it's a two-state solution. Now, I'm going to support that in Congress unless, I see political dynamics on the ground substantially changed. But when I was there and I felt the hostility in between the Palestinians and the Israelites, I don't see any other solution.
love thy neighbor like you love thyself. Is it not what we are as Christians? But if your neighbor doesn't like you, what do? So they say neighbor, I mean love, you can have self-love. How about the next person to you? So the Palestinians, I mean, it's like you're fighting a lion. I mean, you know, fighting a lion, you're fighting an elephant. It's up to them to say, look, we can't win this situation. What do we do? How do we collaborate? How do we love each other because we're in the region? They're not going to be moved anytime. They're not doing any relocation over there. So that's what is the solution. Israel, Palestinians, come together. Figure these things out. America is only going to take a side. But if you guys come up with a solution that is going to work, we encourage you. In fact, a lot of Palestinians go to Israel for medical treatment. A lot. So you hear the other negative, but a lot of Israel provides a lot of humanitarian services. Thank you.
Thank you.
To Palestinians.